Hey, what's up, guys? Happy Father's Day. It's actually Saturday, the day before Father's Day, but I'm sure some of you guys are going to be watching this on Father's Day. And I've got here with me my father, John Madden, and my son's upstairs taking a nap. Hopefully he'll wake up and we'll bring him down for some of the video. But I just wanted to talk a little bit with him about parenting because I'm a new parent, and I wanted to get some advice from him on Father's Day and just thank him for being a great dad always. And just talk, really. So anyway, you were a football player.
Yep.
Did you ever play baseball?
Never played
Not
baseball.
in Little League or anything?
No.
So I played football when I was younger as well, but I never really, I thought I was okay at it, but it never really stuck with me. I didn't really like getting hit was the problem. I didn't like the contact stuff, so baseball was a little bit fun. I loved basketball. I don't know, what do you remember? Because I don't remember much.
Well, I loved football. I coached all of them. I coached baseball. I knew nothing about baseball, but I coached it. And coached football. And I love football. So and you were good, but baseball just came easy for you, and you liked it. And I liked being around you, and I liked watching you have fun. So you gravitated towards baseball, so then I started pushing towards baseball. I was like, that's kind of cool. I like being around him. He's excelling at it. He's having fun. So that's how we ended up doing that. What's going to happen if your son doesn't like baseball?
I don't know. We were just talking about that. What if he plays soccer? What if he's a dancer or an artist or something? I don't know. What do you do?
Right.
What do you do? Like, I didn't like football. So
right.
Obviously you were a football guy, but you said you didn't. Does it matter?
No, it didn't matter. In the long run, it didn't matter at all. I can't imagine having as much fun with you doing football as I did with baseball. It was right for you, and that was what was cool for me,
I remember one thing you always said was in high school, because I did play football one season, played volleyball in high school, basketball for a couple years, and baseball in high school. And I always remember you said just take out one every year. So like freshman year, I think I played 4 sports. Then sophomore year, 3, then junior year, 2, and then my senior year I only played 1 sport, which was baseball. Ended up being the best at that sport. Even though I actually loved I liked playing basketball a lot more than baseball. It was more fun, it was more fast paced. Just at the time they weren't giving scholarships for 2 points a game average, so it didn't work out. But I still, I still like it, still love it. But I was better at baseball. So yeah, it's crazy to think, like when I see I travel across the country, some of you guys know, doing showcases with the USSSA. And I always think when I'm seeing these young players, what is my son gonna be like when he comes up? Is he gonna be a good player? Is he gonna be one of the funny kids? Is he gonna be a little jerk? What is he gonna be like? I don't know. And I'm always thinking about that. What were you, I don't know. Did you have any things like that?
No, well, I think when you see him, you could tell his personality right now even. He's smiling, happy, easygoing, and you were like that. Never had problem with coaches or teammates, which makes all of that so much more fun for everybody. You, them, and your parents,
One thing I see a lot too in youth sports now, is youth baseball, because I deal with baseball a lot now, is some of the parents are crazy. This is crazy. And for me, when I was growing up, I appreciate that you guys weren't like that, because, now seeing it from a different perspective too is man, I can't believe that was happening back then too, right?
Oh, it was out of control sometimes. I mean, they have rules now because of how they were back then.
Yeah, so but back then I didn't realize it. I didn't know, I guess because I was just into playing. And I hope these kids don't know and see that now, because it's crazy some of the stuff I see. But I just appreciate the way you guys handled it and handled the situation. I feel like there was nothing, you guys, at least from what I remember, I feel like there was never any, you guys never talked to the coaches or anything like that.
I can't imagine
you just
having to.
Drop me off if I was late. You would say, you better run, you're late. We try not to be late.
Right.
But that was one of the things. Another thing I always remember was you were always working out and stuff at the time. And you know, always in good shape, always working out, but you never pushed it on me, but I think it became a part of my life, and I think that's why that helped me a lot. That, you know, took me past other kids that weren't doing that stuff, and it was because you were kind of just doing it because that's what you did, because you played football, or you knew it was important for you in your life.
Yeah.
And that kind of fed on to me. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but I was fat for a couple years here recently. But now that I had my son, you know, I always remember that. And now that's why I'm starting to try to get back in shape, because I know that because when I saw you doing all that stuff, working out and staying in shape, that was a big influence on me without you even having to tell me to do a lot of that stuff. And that's why I wanted to get in shape when, you know, he was born, because I want to be a good influence to my son as well. But you know, was there anything? Did you do that on purpose, or was that, what was going on?
None of it was on purpose, except I would make games out of the exercise when you were real little. When you were, you know, 5, 6, 7, we made games out of it. You were jumping over your toy box. We would do things like that. I would have you do things like that. I knew it was good for you, good for sports, but it was also fun. We made a game out of it.
Right.
When we play errors, a game we called errors, we'd throw the ball against the wall, try to make the other guy miss, throw it at bad angles, make him make hard catches. So I'd run him around, throwing the ball, making him chase it, and make hard catches and stuff. That was, I mean, that was a little bit like I was trying to make that happen, but mostly it was just playing, you know?
It was always fun. That was my favorite game, man. If you could get a college scholarship for errors, or burn ball or whatever, yeah. I would have played that, man. I was good at that one too, but yeah, it was always fun.
I always thought that it was important to play different sports when you were younger, and not just focus on some sport, and it was so important. And also to do those fun games, because it makes you a more well-rounded athlete. And then whatever you decide to do later, you're going to be better at it because of those things, you know?
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think kids nowadays are specifying their sport way too early, because even if they have in mind that they want to be a baseball player from when they were, I wanted to be a professional baseball player or basketball player since I was a young age.
You were young.
I always talked about.
Yeah, you were signing baseballs when you were 9
yeah,
or 10.
so I always had that in my head, and you definitely had an influence on that. But the other sports help you in that. Like the movement in basketball is short and quick and side to side, and you're not doing a whole bunch of that in baseball. When you're fielding, you are. It's totally different, but though that helps you with your athleticism. Like, you know, you can lose a lot of athleticism just focusing on baseball, but when you're playing football, and even played soccer when I was younger, yeah. Swimming, you guys had me in swimming.
Yeah.
Everything, we were doing all kinds of stuff, and just having fun, you know, doing it. I never felt like it was a job or a struggle or anything, and I kind of want to do the same thing with him. I really want to get him in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You know, now I'm a fan of the UFC,
yeah.
But Mom doesn't want him getting punched around all the time.
That's the other thing. I had no template. I had no father. My father died 2 months before I was born. I didn't know what to do. Like, there was no, oh, this is how you're a father. I had nothing to look for, you know? And I was so young when you were born. But that part came naturally to me. Hanging out with my kids and having fun with them that was what I wanted to do. I was hoping it would be what you guys wanted to do, but it's what I wanted to do. So it worked out for us.
And I had fun, you know, it was great, and you were a great role model, and everything was awesome. You know, I think some people hearing this might be like, well, you can't do that. You can't be friends with your son. You know, he's gonna run all around you and all stuff. I think I was a pretty okay kid, right? Like I wasn't getting into too much trouble or anything.
You were a great kid.
That.
You got into a little mischief, but you were a good kid.
So I mean, like there's a way, I think, and I think you did a great job with it, and that's why I want to bring him in and you guys hear from this. Not that you know, there's a way to parent. Nobody knows the answer to it. In fact, when I had my son, you know, I said, what am I supposed to do? I don't know how, you know, how does this work? How does this parent thing? And I don't know if you remember, you said this. Listen, if you're gonna be a busboy at Applebee's, they're gonna train you for weeks and weeks and weeks and tell you everything you need to know about how to clean those tables. He goes, when you have a baby, They're gonna wrap them in a blanket and say, don't hit them on the head. You gotta figure the rest of that out. So this is the kind of advice.
It's not the best advice, but it's honest.
But for real, nobody knows the answer, and every kid is different, I think, right?
That's true. That's true. Every kid you're gonna have to treat different. Listen, if you love the kid and you're around them, you'll do the right thing. It works out. I'm just glad you all lived. Growing up with me.
That's no joke. That's no joke. For you new parents out there, I can't tell you how many times, just before I left, we just ordered Chinese food. I made sure and checked he was breathing. You don't know how many times I go in there, like, because if I let this kid die, I'm never gonna hear the end of it. Like, I just don't want to kill him. That's the only thing I don't want to do. You know, we'll see. If we can get him through middle school, that'd be great. Another thing I remember you always talking about was like visualization. I don't know where you got that from or what, but I put that into a lot of what I did when I was playing, and it worked great for me. And now I teach all my kids, my players, that about visualization, and also obviously I'm going to tell my son about it. But how did you come upon that, and how did?
Back when I was in high school, I was a fiend for working out and improving in sports. I mean, I focused on that more than schoolwork, way more than I should have focused on it. But so I read everything I could on it. And so I ran across articles on visualization, and I tried it, and I was like, wow, that was powerful. You know, I had visualized me doing things in games, and then they happened. And I'm like, wow, that is really powerful. So, but I didn't realize how important it was until later. And when I started telling you about it and watched you doing it, I was like, wow, this is really, if people focused on that more, you would see so much improvement in kids, average kids, because it's that powerful.
I feel like nowadays too, like with the internet, you know, more people are starting to understand that because more information is out there. But back then, I don't know how you even, what were you reading, magazines? Or
Yeah, there was no internet.
So you were like deep into that, like learning and stuff like that. And you were a wrestler too, right?
Yeah,
Football and wrestling were the two big ones.
Yeah, they were my two big things.
But, oh, there he is. Can we bring him up? Thank you.
Hey, John Henry.
Visualization was, you know, huge for me, and it helped me along my career and everything I did, and I got that from you. And now I see it a lot too with, like I said, I'm a UFC fan now, and I don't know if you guys follow Conor McGregor. Do you watch any of that stuff?
Oh, yeah.
He's all about that stuff, and he knew it from the day he came in. He said, I'm gonna be the UFC champ, 2 weight divisions, and he wants to fight as much as he can, get as much money as he can, he's gonna retire. He's about to fight Floyd Mayweather. Did you see they announced that?
Yeah.
On
Can't
August
wait
26th. And I think he's got a chance to win. I know a lot of people don't believe that, but he believes it.
Yeah.
And I promise you, he's visualizing already beating Floyd Mayweather. And when it happens, people are going to be shocked, but he's been shocking people ever since. And he's huge on that. He sees when he knocked out Jose Aldo in 13 seconds, he saw it and he says it. And the one thing that he added onto the visualization is that not only does he visualize it and see it, but he has the confidence to say it and put it out there and believe in it so much and make it true and make it happen.
That's a good point on the visualization. The more real you could make it, hi buddy, the more real you could make it, the better it is.
Sorry, we had to stop real quick and eat some Chinese food, but I think we were talking about visualization beforehand, before we stopped. And just all those things that I remember you talking about and teaching me, like not even that you were teaching me, but just somehow you talked about it or whatever it was. One thing I always remember you doing was like leaving articles and stuff like that on my bed. You never really made me read it or anything, but you would leave it there and you would always talk to everyone else about it. Obviously it was interesting to you, and because of that I wanted to read it, and it was always good stuff. So I think that was a great way. You know, I'm gonna do that with him, obviously not with magazines, maybe tag him in posts and things like that, but I thought that was a great way too. I don't know, did you even know you were doing that?
Yeah, if I came across something that was interesting to me that I thought would help you, I'd like, oh, I'm gonna leave this for him to look at, see if he thinks it would help him. So I'd let you make up your own mind on it. But if I thought it was good and interesting and I thought it would help you, I would leave. That's why I always just left it there instead of trying to be like, you know what, you should do this. I just left it, and then you got to decide if you thought it would be good for you, you know?
What about growing? How tall are you?
5'9".
I'm 6'4".
Yeah, I know.
How'd that happen?
I don't know what happened to me.
Well, Kristen and I were talking earlier, and she was reading a blog that I wrote about you a couple years ago, and the growing that you always said Michael Jordan willed himself to grow, and you bought me gravity boots, and I was hanging. We were both hanging upside. Maybe you were trying to grow too at the time, but we were both hanging from the thing. You did it for your back, obviously.
Yeah.
But I was trying to grow, and I'm 6'4", and you're not. And I'm not that tall either. What happened?
I shouldn't have worried about my back. I should have been visualizing myself growing, apparently. But
so, do you think that is true, or what? Or do you think it has to do with eating, or I just got lucky, or maybe mom's brothers are tall?
I think that's it. You have the same body structure as mom's brothers. You're taller than them, but same structure. So I think that's where that came from, to be honest. So I don't think you can make yourself grow. But
hey.
Obviously it didn't work for everybody.
What about competitiveness? I feel like I was always competitive. Like, were you competitive when you were growing up, or?
I was competitive like you were competitive, quietly competitive. You would have never known you were very competitive. It wasn't outward. And if you didn't win, you didn't look crushed. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But inwardly, we were both really competitive, you know? So, and your mother was competitive. So.
I think that's probably like the number one. The more I look at it from a coaching perspective and a dad perspective now, I think that's like the number one like X factor, like the fundamental of, because if you don't want to be better, or you don't want to yourself, no matter who else wants you, because obviously I want him to be, MLB all-star,
Right.
But if he don't want that, then it's never going to happen. You know what I'm saying? So I think that the X factor is the competitiveness in sports. If you want to play sports, you have to be competitive. And I know some people think that super competitive is not healthy, but I think it is if you want to be in sports, you have to be competitive to play. And
sure,
obviously you were competitive in football and in wrestling, right? You wanted to win and
always, yeah,
all that stuff. So, and I think it's good for in life in general. Like, you always want to get better at everything you do.
Right. I think anything that you really want to do, you have to be a little obsessed with.
Right.
You got to focus on it. You got to really be competitive at it. Want to be better than the next guy. If you want to excel at it, you got to be a little obsessed.
So after we just crushed some Chinese food, let's talk about nutrition, because you were big on nutrition. You always told me to drink a lot of water.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know where you got this from, because a lot of this information wasn't out there back then, but you always had great stuff. It seemed like to me at the time, cutting edge stuff that were like people weren't talking about back then, but you were talking about it, and I was doing it, and I think that really helped me kind of gain an edge. And I didn't know it. I wasn't doing it to gain an edge. I was doing it because you were doing it, and you talked about it, and I wanted to be like you. So, I think that was a big advantage of doing that. But, how'd you come upon like nutrition?
Again, that was my interest, the exercise, nutrition. I was interested, so I read everything I could on it. So I did find things that were a little bit deeper in than an average person who wasn't looking for it. So I would find them, and if I thought it was good, I would share it with you and say, hey, you know what really seems to be working for me? You should try this. And that was it. I would leave it alone. And if you liked it and tried it, good. So
I remember you had the Herschel Walker
basic training
handbook.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy, you eating too much?
Herschel
Oh
Walker
my
never
goodness, you can't chew this whole thing. This is healthy. This is broccoli, but you can't stuff it all down your mouth.
Somebody should be watching you.
You're gonna die on camera. I was trying to make sure he wasn't gonna die upstairs. He's sitting right on my lap. He's gonna choke. Sorry, buddy. But yeah, I mean, water has been huge. I've been drinking so much water. I remember through high school and college, and even now I try to drink at least a gallon a day. And now it seems like as I get older, and I feel like my body needs more. I try to get in a gallon and a half, two gallons a day. I mean, that's just always, and going back to the Herschel Walker thing, you know, you were always doing those exercises and stuff, and he was doing tire pulls and stuff like that. That stuff's just coming now popular with all the,
Right.
you know, people doing the tire flips and CrossFit, all that stuff. You had me doing that stuff, not that you had me doing it, it's just you gave me the book and you were doing it and I saw it and I liked it. So I was doing that stuff back then when nobody was doing that stuff.
Here's what I know about that. Nothing's new. It's all gets recycled. And now we're back to that stuff, you know? But 100 years ago, they were doing stuff that was beneficial. And we're not doing that much different now, as much as we think we are. So Herschel Walker stuff, you couldn't go wrong following that. Great athleticism, great for working out.
Well, I appreciate you coming out and coming on camera and coming straight from work. You came straight from work, and you always were a hard-working guy and always made it to the games when you could and worked a lot and still made it out there. So I appreciate that, and I know for some of you guys that don't have dads, like you didn't have a dad, my wife didn't grow up with a dad, you know, a dad doesn't have to be someone that, you know, is a dad. It's your father, you know. Just so go thank someone that's helped you out on this Father's Day, and thank you very much, and I love you.
Thank you, me too. And let's go teach this kid how to play football.